under the roof of a BK centre. So, and he's someone who's a bit of an all-rounder. He's pretty good at what he puts his hand to. So tonight is one of the strings, many strings to his bow, and generally he's got a pretty good sense of humour. So hopefully he can stay on task long enough tonight to address the topic and be a little bit serious about it. But the topic tonight is intuition, and so hopefully we'll all leave tonight with some greater insight and depth of understanding of how intuition works. So thank you, Satish.
Thank you, Tim. That was a very, very generous introduction. I don't know if I'll be able to keep up all that expectation that's been set, but I think since we're here to listen to something on intuition, you might be able to pick up a lot of things intuitively, what I'm going to talk about tonight. So if we sat down here long enough in some silence, we'd go back feeling really full, I think. Yeah, so intuition seems to be something that a lot of people are working towards these days. I think as human beings, one of the most common things that we do all the time is that we are sensing. We're using all our senses all the time. Whether we consciously do it or not, it's there. We are in the process of using all our physical senses. So whether we sense through our eyes, through our nose, through our limbs physically touching and feeling, or even just through the sense of skin, there is a sense that's going on. It's totally different from a sensual activity, but I am sensing all the time. I guess it's a sense of, it gives people security of where they are, right? Of their presence, their surroundings, and that's why we do it all the time. I noticed that at least when people walk through the doors at the retreat center, they walk in, the first thing they do is to take a nice deep breath. This is really a lovely place. Isn't it? Have you found yourself doing that? I don't know if you do it here, but probably when you go to hotel rooms, you open the door, the first thing you want to do, or a motel or a backpacker's inn, first thing you want to do. Not bad, it's a good place. Isn't that interesting? What am I doing? I just want that fresh air. Do I really want fresh air from the room? Not much of a fresh air, but it's just a sense of giving myself a security. If that place was moist or damp, it gives me a totally different feeling of uncomfort. Yeah? So, as human beings, we're always sensing, we're trying to pick up things just to keep ourselves feeling safe. But intuition is something that we sometimes call it our sixth sense, right? We hear a lot about it. People just address it. Sometimes we call it, and when we give it different names. But it's that little voice inside you that tells you what to do, what not to do, right? Intuition's a bit more like this little man that's inside you all the time, guiding you. But what is really intuition? We know what it is. We briefly touch it, intuitively. My gut feel tells me, but what is it really? Has anyone really thought about it? Interesting. So what is it really?
Sense in the atmosphere.
Sense in the atmosphere.
Sensing it.
Sensing the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What else? Instinct. Interesting. Let me just write that down. Sorry, excuse my handwriting. Not born to be a teacher. So you've got sensing, atmosphere, and then you've got instinct. Anyone else? Any other thoughts?
Energy.
It's kind of energy. Externally, internally. Internal. Okay.
Others' energy.
Sorry.
Other people's energy.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say higher self.
A higher self.
Guiding.
Right. Anyone else? No? Silence says quite a lot. Sorry, I'm not catching it intuitively, so it doesn't work for me.
Subconscious.
Subconscious? Okay. Okay. One thing that I seem to notice, particularly when I see the word instinct, that comes to my mind is you tend to find that animals at this current time seem to be able to pick up things faster than we human beings can do. Don't you agree? I'm just remembering a couple of scenes that's coming to my mind. When the last tsunami, the major tsunami that took place about 10 years ago, the animals were the first one to respond. You just could find very unusual behavior, wanting to go to higher grounds and things like that. You think, what's going on, right? I know there was another episode where there was an earthquake that took place in China, and the day before the earthquake, the frogs were on the road. There were heaps of them, and people just didn't understand what was going on. I can't remember how many years ago. This must have been about 5-6 years ago. This article was in the papers, and they were out in the streets. And then the next day, the major earthquake took place. So, to me, the way I see intuition is it's really connecting to my own inner truth. It's my inner self. Probably the closest from here that I would use to define intuition is actually my higher self, right? And what's actually happening, if you notice in today's world, is we are often using our physical surroundings to guide us. And that is why people don't really pay that much attention to their intuition. Every now and then, my gut feel kicks in and I just don't feel comfortable. You know, you're in a place and then you just feel, I don't think I should be here at this time. Right? You get up and you go. And then later you hear something happening and you think, that's interesting. Yeah? But of course there are times when you don't hear anything happening and you just have this strong feeling, I shouldn't be here. You go back, nothing happens the next day, but you just have this strong feeling, I shouldn't be here. Yeah? So the only time I can actually connect with my own intuition is when I am actually when I'm actually calm. That's the time I hear this inner voice responding. But what's tricky about it is that it might be communicating with me, but I do not take notice of it, or I do not listen to it. Yeah? All these sounds very common to you? Why do you think that happens? Right? Sometimes you get this thing, you know, like so you're driving, for example, driving, and then suddenly you just get this thing, turn left, don't go right. And then you think, oh yeah. And then when you come to the road, you just think, no, it can't be right. The map says go right. I don't think so. And you just go, and then you find that you're stuck in a traffic, and then you think, I should have done that. I should have just listened to what I thought earlier. I just had this gut feel. I should have just gone left. I should have just gone left. But why do you think we aren't able to connect to it, or we don't listen to it? What do you think would be the problem? Self-doubt. Yep, that's one.
Habit.
Sorry?
Habit.
Habit. Totally. Totally.
Outside or other people can influence
Yep.
you as well.
Outside people, that's another one.
Ego.
My own ego. Yep. Thinking that something else is more accurate than my own self. True. True. I tend to find that one of the main reasons is we spend most of our time sensing with our physical, which means a bit like what Larry's saying, that I have so much trust in what I see and what I touch that when I hear this inner voice talking to me, I'm not able to capture it and say, yep, you're right, I'll go with you. So if someone else reaffirms me, no, don't worry about that. If you tell somebody at a party, look, I really don't feel comfortable and I think I should go. People say, oh, come on, you got to be joking. Right? Because they're not able to understand what you're feeling inside. They're not able to catch what's going on inside you. Only you know what you are. Another word I like to use to define intuition is my truth. Nobody knows your truth except you. Each one's journey is of his own. Yeah? And so the only way I can actually connect to my own truth, I can understand my own truth, is really just me, myself. Unless I express it clearly to somebody else, they will not be able to understand what's going on. Right? So intuition is actually my own truth, but for me to be able to exercise it, to be able to listen to it, to be able to follow it, to be able to use it, I need to be more connected to my own self. Right? Which means I need to actually spend more time with myself. Right? So what is this myself supposed to be? Does that mean I isolate myself from the whole world all the time and start being pretty lonely? Or is there something else that I need to do? It is about starting to listen to that voice. That voice that I'm talking about, that we often refer to, whether you call it sixth sense or the inner voice or intuition, is something that I feel. It's not something that it's going to whisper in my ears, but it's absolutely a feeling that's inside. And for me to be able to start feeling, I'll have to stop making noise in the ear. It doesn't matter whether I keep talking verbally, but there has to be less noise happening inside here. Right? So less thoughts going on inside my head. And if you notice your pattern of thoughts in a day, and this will be proven in its effect, 80%, 90% of the time, we either live in the future or we live in the past. Right? We're either whinging about something that's happened yesterday, day before, a few weeks ago, a few years ago, or we're anticipating in lots of excitement and anxiety about what's happening tomorrow in a few minutes, as soon as I reach the swimming pool or something like that. Right? So it's about living in the moment. It's about me taking a few minutes off every now and then, whenever I get the time, to reflect on my own self. Right? Because what am I actually connecting to? I'm connecting to my own truth. Yeah? One thing that we actually talk about here in Brahma Kumari's meditation is intuition is actually one of the faculties of, when I say the self, I'm actually referring to the higher self, of course, or the spiritual being. or what sometimes we call it the soul, right? So the intuition actually comes from one of the three faculties of the soul, which we refer to as the intellect. All right? Oops. So, um, yeah, the intellect's functionality is also to help with decision making. And you tend to find that these days we don't just make decisions based on logics, but we also make decisions based on our gut feel, right? Whether it could be a business decision, it could be a personal decision, it could be anything, right? We tend to want to be connected to it much closer to know whether it's right or not. And so whenever I hear this voice and I don't act based on that, one is because I'm not actually connecting with myself. I don't understand myself enough. Yeah? Second thing is sometimes I hear it very clearly. I know that's the right thing to do, but I don't have the strength to carry it out. Have you had that challenge as well? And the reason for that is because of lack of willpower. Earlier we talked about how sometimes we have peer pressure, right? External influence from people's vision, statement, whatever they believe. And we think now we got to go in that direction. And so whenever I listen to what other people say, I am lacking that willpower to be able to carry that task out. I'm actually lacking the willpower to move based on the decision that I'm taking. Yeah? So far, so good? Yeah. So, yeah. So, what I'm actually doing through meditation is I'm actually empowering this bit. So, through meditation, I'm actually empowering my intellect. How does that work? Meditation is a process that actually allows me to um, take a step back from what's actually happening around me at that time. Take a step back, we call it the SOS process. Stand back, observe, and steer. Okay? So what that means is stand back from the situation, literally take a step back and start seeing things from a big perspective. And then I observe what's happening around me. What is the big picture? And then I make that decision. I carry it out. So in this case, what's actually happening is I hear my inner voice telling me something, listen to it, reflect on it, and then go with it. Right? So what meditation is actually doing is it's giving me this space for me to connect with my own truth more and more. Now, like I said right at the beginning, the biggest challenge is people spend a lot of time with what's happening outside. And so we are absolutely engaged with what's happening around me. But I need to take that time out every now and then to be able to connect with myself so that I'm actually able to start listening to myself a lot more rather than processing this unnecessary thoughts, like I was talking to you earlier about where we're either living in the future or we're living in the past, which is not going to help me in any way. And intuition does not necessarily have to agree with my past experiences. Often when I'm making decisions, I'm always looking at my past experiences, using that as my guiding factor, right? So if I've made a good decision before, based on A, B, C, D, E, I'm sure it'll work again, right? But intuition sometimes could tell me, try something a little bit different. And you think, well, everyone else is on the other side of the fence and they're saying it's not going to work, you reckon this is going to go? Right? That's when I need to trust it. I need to trust my truth. And the only way I can do that is I need to understand myself more closely. It's one thing to listen to somebody telling you what kind of a person you are, but it's another thing for you to understand who I really am, what my real qualities are, what my real strengths are. And then I go with that. Because it's interesting, when I start connecting with myself, I start to listen to myself rather than just keep telling myself what needs to be done or what I have to keep going on about. I start listening. Remember the first thing I said at the beginning? I said, intuition will only work when I'm in silence or when I'm calm, right? And it is not an overnight process that I'm actually able to start listening to my inner voice. It is something that needs a little bit more time. I need to take that time out every now and then as a means of practice. And then, when I need to use it, it's there for me. Yeah? So, this is one thing that meditation helps me do. It's a process where I'm actually going within myself. I'm cutting myself away from all the external factors and just focusing on the higher self. All right? But what's another challenge that tends to come in between? What tends to come, sometimes we think we get this really strong feeling, yes, I got to do this, I have to do it this way. And then you ask somebody, should I really go and tell this person what a nasty, mean creature he is or she is or it is, right? You have this really strong thing, and deep inside you, you have this whole conversation. After that, you tell yourself, I think I really should, and you get this really strong thing that I should do it, I should do it, I should do it. And you convince yourself that yes, it's my intuition. How many of you have done something like that or gone through that process, and then after you do it, and then after that, it turns pear-shaped completely, and you think, oh no, I just shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have listened to my inner voice. I should have asked somebody about it. Have you gone through anything like that? Yeah? Paul?
I can't think of an exact
No, that's fine.
but yes.
But it's something that we can relate to. And that's actually because it's a fine line between my intuition and a desire. Sometimes you walk past a shop and you think, I really need to get that stuff. I really need to get that stuff. And you psych yourself into it that I really need to have it. Then you get it and then you think, well, no, I don't really use it that often. Why did I even waste my money on it? It's actually a desire. And that's one of the things that probably has caused a lot of people to doubt their own intuition itself, because we misunderstand a desire against my own intuition. We think that everything that comes from inside your inner voice is actually your intuition. It's not. My intuition comes to me just a few words. Have you noticed that something that's very short, very quick signal? That's what intuition is. But desire is something that comes to you in abundance. Oh, if I get that job, I definitely start saving that much money. I'd invest that much. I'd go traveling here. I'd buy this. I'd buy that. And you start planning the whole world, and then you haven't even got the job yet. But and even if you do get the job, after that, you start finding yourself clearing up all your other debts, and you find all other expenses. Nothing works out. It's totally just a waste of time. You get into this desire, to this pattern of desires. And you think, I have to do this. I have to do this. But intuitions are always, you notice, that's why our inner voice is always short, sweet, straight to the point. It's whether you catch it or you lose it. Right? If I catch it at the right time, I'm on the right track. If I lose it, then things go pear-shaped and you think, nah, no such thing as intuition. Not everybody can have intuition. Only the people who are lucky will have good, will be able to connect with their own inner feelings. I don't have that fortune. Right? We start beating ourselves up. So, what am I doing in meditation? Meditation is actually a very, very easy process. Um, and what it's actually doing is because I don't know if many of you are aware, but the kind of meditation that we do in the Brahma Kumaris, we don't actually have a guru, right? So what meditation actually does is actually helps me to, firstly, of course, if you know lesson 1, the very first thing we talk about is understanding myself. And once there is that understanding through meditation, I'm actually connecting to my own truth through through feelings, right? Though there is a thought pattern that's going on, I'm actually connecting to my own higher self through feelings. So it's not about the amount of thoughts that I create in my mind, but it's about the amount of feelings I'm connecting with, right? I think, what we do is we don't stop our mind from thinking. Those of you who've been here before, you notice that even like at 7 o'clock, when we sat down for meditation, we didn't just play music, or we didn't just turn off all the music and let you sit in silent space. That's not the purpose, right? The whole idea is to start being more productive with my thought pattern. So I am, instead of letting my mind just go wild, I'm creating a point of focus so that my mind is focused on something, it's working on something productive, it's got a purpose at the end of the day. So I create one thought at a time, I pay attention to the one thought, I go into the depth of that feeling of that one thought, and what I'm doing is I'm going deeper into it. When I say I'm going deeper into this, into that one thought, I'm actually spending my time to see how that one thought connects with me. What is it? How does it relate to me? So, for example, when we start with having just one thought of I am peace, what is really peace to me? 20 people in this room, peace could mean 20 different things to 20 different individuals. Right? So I need to personalize it. Remember, my truth is different from someone else's truth because we're all on a separate journey together. So in meditation, I'm actually connecting through feelings, and because it's positive feelings, it's actually making way for me to connect and to see my own real self. When I start seeing my real self, when I start accepting my real self, that's when I'll start to be able to connect and listen to my own inner voice. I start responding based on my inner voice. Right? Any questions so far? No questions?
So, Satish, what happens when you start to do that? Connect with your inner self, and you have a thought and you go to the depths of that. But then some other thought comes along and distracts you.
Yeah, good point. Thanks, Angie. I think something that tends to happen when you have meditation, and I think Angie's question was more that, what do you do when you've got another thought that comes in when you're doing meditation? And then, of course, you sidetrack and go back into the milk bar that you bought your newspaper from or whatever. That's very normal for it to happen. But the most important thing is to bring yourself back and continue the process. It is an exercise, and so it will take time. like when you go to the gym. I mean, just lifting the dumbbell 3 times, it's not going to give you your bicep muscles. You've got to do it on a regular basis. And same thing with meditation, unless it's done regularly, I will not be able to see the benefits of it so soon. And that's one of the most important things when it comes to listening to my inner voice. I need to stay focused. And that's another thing that meditation does. It helps me to stay focused with what I'm doing. And when I listen to that thought, I stay focused to that one thought. Because like I said, intuition is such that it comes to you very quickly, very subtly. You catch it, you catch it. If not, you lose it. And sometimes, you have this thought for a moment. It's just a moment. And then after the scene, you think, that's funny. I had that thought earlier. If only I acted on it. Because it's so subtle, and like I said, it comes to you only in a few thoughts. It doesn't come to you very elaborate. But you understand, in that few thoughts, you understand exactly what the message is. It doesn't have to be elaborate for you to understand it. And that's what intuition really is. I actually want to touch on another topic, but I don't think it's a good idea. I was going to say that the power of thoughts is the same. It's only a few thoughts, but it's powerful. That means in that few thoughts, I completely understand what's going on. And that is the depth of meditation that I'm talking about. When just from one sentence that I am peace, it eventually ends up with just one thought in my head, but I'm totally in that experience of it. And that is the power of thought. That's when you start seeing the power of thought manifesting. Same thing here. That's when I'm able to catch my intuition. I have the courage and the willpower to act on it too. I have that one thought and says, yep, I have full faith in it. I don't even doubt it even once.
And do you think that inner voice is living in some kind of future ahead of us, or?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Do you think that inner voice lives in the future? I don't think it's about living in the future, but that inner voice certainly has all the answers to our questions that we go through in life. If I think of all the great scientists, people who do experiments, often find them doing their work in silence. People who are deep into research, where would you find your answer? Sometimes Google doesn't have everything, especially if you're onto a new invention. Google will not guide you, but you will be able to facilitate that. And that's where the power of the intuition comes in. So it's about connecting with my higher self that has the answers to the moment.
And yeah, sometimes there's instances of people who are in dangerous situations, and a voice comes, whether it's intuition or not, I don't know. And they talk about having guidance to go here or go there. And afterwards, when they recall, they say, I felt that I was guided by angels or guided by God. Where does that sit with intuition?
Now, that's a very interesting question. I'll just repeat the question for the benefit of the webcast. You know how sometimes people hear this voice telling them in a disaster or in a situation where the voice tells them go left, go right, and get out of here, get out there. Where does that sit with the concept of intuition, or whether there's angels guiding them? To be absolutely honest with you, I do believe that that's quite different from intuition per se. I do believe that there are times that we can actually catch vibration from what Tim was saying as angels, or our guardian angels as we refer to them. So I do believe that that's one thing. Yeah. Some people believe in the presence of the Supreme Being or God Himself. And I personally believe that's where your guidance comes. But for me to be able to catch it, this is the trick to it. Oh, I didn't write it down. Meditation. Meditation. Because one of the key things, like I mentioned earlier about meditation, is it's actually helping me to not always be engrossed in what's happening around me. It's helping me to take a step back, reflect, spend time with myself. And like I said, because when I start connecting with my sixth sense more often, I befriend my sixth sense more often, that's when I'm actually able to have a conversation with it, an interaction with it. And because it's feelings based, meditation is also feeling based. The way I actually experience or draw these kind of touchings, I would say, inspirations, is actually through my feelings. Because I'm actually feeling it, I'm being guided by this force.
So is it a generalisation that women are more open to intuition than men? And if that is the case, what is it that blocks men from accessing?
That's a very good question, Spencer. Is it a generalization to say that women are more open to intuition compared to men? If so, then why is that? It actually connects with another question I've often had, and it seems to be a bit of a fact since I live at the retreat center, which is you tend to find women more interested in spirituality compared to men. And just look around the room for a moment, you'd find it's a bit heavy on the women's side. You tend to find more women. Isn't that right? It's a bit scary.
Quite well represented. It's usually worse than this.
Yeah, today doesn't seem too bad, does it? I actually do think that it's just that whether you want to call it culturally, traditionally, men have always been associated with the work side of things. And so the way our mentality works is that we always extrovert, but it doesn't mean that we cannot build our intuition, we cannot build our inner self, or there's no restriction in that sense.
Maybe, I think maybe men would be distracted by some various thoughts during the day or something.
It could be, but more often than not, I think
You know
it's,
what I mean?
I do think that it's really just a work factor. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that actually men are more prone to be looking out there for the cash than the women. So which means men worry more about making the bucks and getting that position, sitting on that seat. I'm open to this one. I'm happy to get comments, but I don't think
I was
women would.
thinking maybe the ego as well. Because
That's true. That's another side of it.
no offense to anyone here, but men do seem to have bigger egos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's that ego that's driving, I need to be out there, I need to be up there, I need to be fleshy, that sort of thing. It's not so much of a women thing there.
Yeah. So it's more primal sort of
Yeah.
tribal alpha type of situation. That's the blocking channel.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But in saying that, like I said, in saying that, there's nothing that really restricts us as in terms of gender. Doesn't really relate. Yeah. Cool. Anyone else? No? Pretty clear? Yeah. Okay, so that's okay with everyone. Shall we have just a few minutes of meditation together? Yeah, perhaps if I did a guided commentary. Is anyone here for the first time? Can I just ask out of interest? Okay, so that's all right. So I guess most of you have done meditation before. We'll go straight into it. Okay. I'll just say a few words and you can try and follow the word. Sitting down here, I make myself comfortable. I become aware of my surroundings. Become aware of the music, space. If I can, I keep my eyes open, allowing it to rest on the point of light in front of me. Drawing all my energy from my feet upwards. I just relax. Letting go of all tension, tightness in my muscles. My legs, just let them go. Let them become light. I let go of any kind of tightness in my stomach. I take a deep breath in, breathing in all the peace. And as I breathe out, I let go of all negativity, any kind of sorrow. I take another deep breath in, breathing in lots and lots of love, filling my every part of the body with lots of love. As I breathe out, I let go of any kind of dislike. I breathe in happiness one more time, and I just let go. I become completely light. I relax my shoulders, my arms, just let them all go. slowly turn my attention within. And I feed my mind with one thought. I am a being of peace. And just observing the screen of my mind with this one phrase, I am a being of peace. I'm not analyzing this phrase. I'm starting to feel it. I am a being of peace. I ask myself, what is peace to me? And the first thought that comes to my mind is my connection to peace. It could be an image, it could be a color. This is my connection to peace. I absorb the feelings of peace. Allowing it to just penetrate throughout my whole body. Just let those feelings go. Feel my every organ, my every vein, my every cell. I am a being of peace. I feel that radiance spreading to the people around me. And when I'm ready, I gradually become present in this room, being aware of my surroundings, the music, gently move your fingers, your toes, Thank you.